A glimpse into the life of Thakura Bhaktivinoda on the auspicious disappearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Thakura Bhaktivinoda led a life of incessant labor and activity for Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He effected such immense good in the world that his work is only to be compared with the unbounded works of Sri Chaitanya Maha himself and the Goswamis. It was the spiritual attempts and divine writings of this individual that turned the scale and led the intelligent, educated community to believe in the noble precepts and teachings of Lord Chaitanya. If we look back 1 century, we cannot but be astonished to find how degraded was the condition of the Vaishnava faith, which had its pure origin in the deep and majestic spiritual philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even vastly learned Panditas could not fathom the super excellent precepts of Lord Chaitanya's philosophy, yet due to incredulity born of the ignorance of uncultured men, the Vaishnava faith had been degraded and was considered a beggar's excuse for living at the expense of society. It was by sheer love for the Godhead that Thakura Bhaktivinoda expounded the deep philosophy which had remained concealed in the pages of the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Puranas, and the Bhagavatam. By his action toward divine service and also by his words, set in simple language to be easily understood by readers in general, he has given this philosophy to the world. It is his writings and his divine, unparalleled character that have helped to produce a class of educated and enlightened men who are now proud of their Vaishnava faith and of their acquisition of the spiritual knowledge of the pure and sublime philosophy of Krishna, on which stern teaching of Sri Chaitanya are based. Though born in opulent circumstances on September 2, 1838, Thakura Bhaktivinoda, who has given the name Kedaranath Datta, had to meet many difficulties in his early life. His childhood was spent at his maternal grandfather's house at Bir Nagar, Ulagram, from where he came to Calcutta at the age of 13. After the death of his father, after he completed his education, he was requested to be present at the time of his paternal grandfather's death. His grandfather, Raja Vallabha Datta, had been a famous personality of Calcutta and had retired to a lonely place in Orissa to spend his last days as an ascetic. He could predict the future and knew when he would die, since he could commune with supernatural beings. Thakura Bhaktivinoda was present at the eventful time when that great soul passed away. And after receiving his grandfather's instructions, he visited all of the major temples and ashramas of the state of Orissa. Bhaktivinoda Thakura then entered the educational service and introduced English education into the state of Orissa for the first time. He wrote a small book about all the ashramas of the state and mentioned an ashrama which was on his ancestors' property. I have a small village, Choti Mangalpur, in the Ori country of Orissa, of which I am the proprietor. He wrote, in that village is a religious house which was granted by my predecessors to the holy men as a holding of rent-free land. The head of the institution entirely gave up entertaining such men as chanced to seek shelter on a rainy night. This came to my notice, and I administered a severe threat that his lands would be cruelly resumed if in the future complaints of inhospitality were brought to my knowledge. Bhaktivinoda Thakura later took to the government service and transferred to Bengal. In one town, he gave a historic speech on the Srimad Bhagavatam, which attracted the attention of thousands. He made the world know that what hidden treasures pervade every page of the Bhagavatam, which should be read by all persons having a philosophy turn of mind. He was transferred some years later to a town called Champaran. In this town there was a Brahma Daitya living in a great banyan tree, and he was being worshipped by many degraded people. A Brahma Daitya is a type of ghost. One day, the father of a famous girl scholar came to Bhaktivinoda for alms, and Bhaktivinoda Thakura at once employed him in reading the Bhagavatam under the shade of the banyan tree, which was the abode of the ghost. After 1 month, the Bhagavatam was completed, and then a day the tree crashed to the ground, and the ghost was gone for good. Everyone was thankful for this act except the few dishonest persons who were worshipping the ghost. Bhaktivinoda's next move was to Puri. The government commissioner was much pleased to get him in his division, and he asked him to watch the affairs of the temple of Jagannatha on behalf of the government. It was through Bhaktivinoda's exertions that many malpractices were checked, and the time for the offerings of foods before the deity was regulated to extreme punctuality. Thakura Bhaktivinoda was especially interested to quell the rise against the government of one Visikishena, who declared himself to be an incarnation of Mahavishnu. During the course of his investigation, Thakura Bhaktivinoda found him to be an hoax and a culprit and charged him with transgressing government injunctions. After his trial, the fellow was sentenced to imprisonment for a year and a half, but he died shortly after in jail. This man was really possessed of unnatural powers, but as they were the outcome of non-spiritual practices, he had to submit to the Thakura when the latter wanted him to do so. Visikishena was held in dread by the common people, and everyone warned Srila Bhaktivinoda not to admonish him, even for the sake of justice, in view of the serious consequences that yogi would inflict. But although Thakura was not a man of ostentation and did not allow people to know his true qualities and spiritual strength, he easily cut down the demoniac power of the impostor. In the fall of Visikishana, there rose an impostor Balarama at another Vijay, and there was also other so-called incarnations of God, but their plans were similarly frustrated. During his stay at Jagannath Puri, Thakura Bhaktivinoda devoted much of his time to the discussion of spiritual works and prepared notes on the Vedanta Sutras, which were published with the commentaries of Baladeva Vidyabhushana. He also composed the Kalyana Kalpataru, from which Vibhavari Shesha, one selection, appears in this book. This may very truly to be termed an immortal work, and it stands on the same level as the divine writings of the Narottama Dasa Thakura. In 1877, he left Puri on government service, and in 1881, he started a well-known spiritual journal called the Sajjana Toshani, the satisfaction of pure devotees. He also published the Sri Krishna Samhita, which revealed to the world the underlying philosophy explaining the spiritual existence of Krishna. This book opened the eyes of educated people to teach them their true relationship with God. It also attracted the admiration of the many German scholars, for although the public regarded Krishna as a poetic creation of erotic nature, Srila Bhaktivinoda revealed Krishna as Parabrahman, supreme transcendental person, the absolute being, on the basis of Vedic evidence. At the close of his stay at the village of Narali, he visited Vrindavana. There he had to encounter a band of dacoits known as Kanjaras. These powerful bandits spread all over the roads surrounding the holy place and used to attack innocent pilgrims. Bhaktivinoda Thakura brought this news to the government, and after many months of struggle extirpated the bandits from Vrindavana forever. From this time on, Thakura Bhaktivinoda preached extensively in large gatherings, explaining all of the precepts of the Sankirtana of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. While staying at Barasat, Thakura Bhaktivinoda met the famous Bengali writer Bankima Chandra. This novelist and playwright had just finished writing a book on Krishna, and knowing Srila Bhaktivinoda to be an authority on topics of Krishna, he gave the manuscript to Bhaktivinoda Thakura to see. It was full of mundane Western style speculation and ideas. After 4 days of discussion, Bhaktivinoda had the whole text revised by Bankim Chandra to accommodate the pure supramundane precepts of Lord Chaitanya. During his last year at Barasat, Bhaktivinoda was requested by a noted High Court judge to publish an authoritative edition of the Srimad Bhagavad-gita, the commentaries of Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, as well as his own Bhaktivinoda's translation. The preface written by Bankima Chandra expressed his gratitude to the Thakura for his endeavor, and when it was published, the copies were soon exhausted. Then Thakura Bhaktivinoda published a unique work entitled Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, the nectarian teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which dealt with Lord Chaitanya's theistic philosophy and the philosophies of the Western speculators. This book defeats every other philosophy point for point, and establishes the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya as supreme. In 1885, he started a society named Sri Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha for the propagation of pure Hari Bhakti. Many eminent citizens of Calcutta joined the society, and several committees were organized with assigned duties. Bhaktivinoda Thakura was so anxious to see the land of Lord Chaitanya that he applied many times for a transfer to any town nearby. Upon not receiving the desired transfer, he formally submitted a resignation from public service, but it was refused. Then, to his great rejoicing, he obtained transfer to Krishna Nagar, 25 miles from Navadvipa, Mayapur. Once stationed at a place near Navadvipa, he did not elect a single moment to pass freely without visiting the land of Navadvipa. He at once made inquiries about the exact whereabouts of the different places of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. He soon discovered that the then city of Navadvipa was a town of only 100 years standing. So he was curious to locate the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. He was convinced that the town of Navadvipa was not the authentic location, and he at once commenced a vigorous inquiry to find the truth of the matter. But he could not easily escape from the people who tried to make him believe that the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya was at the town. Then, after careful inquiry, he was told that the site was lost under the shifting course of the Ganges. Not satisfied with this explanation, he himself set out to discover the Yoga Pita birthplace after great difficulties. He came to know of a place which was being adored by many realized souls as a true birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and which was then in the possession of the Mohammedans. Local inquiry and corroborative evidence from ancient maps of the later part of the 18th century, which showed the name Sri Mayapur, at last helped him to discover the real site of the birthplace. The discovery led to the publishing of a valuable work called Navadvipa Dhama Mahatmya. Chapter 5 of this book was appeared in ISKCON's Bengal Back-to-Back magazine. The year 1895 was the most eventful year in the history of the Vaishnava world, and Thakura Bhakthivinoda was the prime mover of the events. It was in this year that he officially memorialized the birth site of Sri Krishna and brought its true identity and importance before the public eye. Thousands of visitors were present at the function held at that spot. Just after retiring from government service, Thakura Bhaktivinoda himself, in a spirit of perfect humility and with a view to giving a firm standing to the discovery, went from door to door to raise funds for a temple. In the Amrita Bazar Patrika newspaper on December 6, 1894, the following article appeared. Bhabu Kedaranath Datta, the distinguished deputy magistrate who has just retired from the service, is one of the most active members. Indeed, Babu Kedaranath Datta has been deputed by his committee to raise subscriptions in Calcutta and elsewhere, and is determined to go from house to house if necessary and beg a rupee from each Hindu gentleman for the noble cause. If Babu Kedaranath Datta sticks to his resolution of going around with a bag in his hand, we hope that no Hindu gentleman whose house may be honored by the presence of such a devout bhakta as Babu Kedaranath will send him away without contributing his mite. However humble it may be, the Gaura Vishnupriya Temple Fund. Truly, Thakura Bhaktivinoda honored the houses of many persons for the fulfillment of the noble object he had undertaken. He went to persons to whom he would not have gone for any purpose but for this mission of Lord Chaitanya. And his efforts were not fruitless, since the sum collected contributed to the construction of a temple building on the holy site of Lord Chaitanya's appearance. The work of preaching the holy name was also in full swing, and it spread fast in the distant corners of the globe. The Gauranga Smarana Mringala Stotra, with a preface in English containing the life and precepts of Chaitanya, came out from Bhaktivinoda's pen soon after the discovery of Lord Chaitanya's birthplace and found its place in all the relevant institutions of both hemispheres. The more the names of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna were preached. The mirror was Thakura Bhaktivinoda. He thereafter made annotations of Srimad Brahma Samhita and Sri Krishna Karanamrita and gave to the world his immortal and precious works of Sri Hari Nama Chintamani and Bhajana Rahasya. He also edited with commentary Srimad Bhagavatarka Marichi Mala, which contains all the most prominent slokas of the Srimad Bhagavatam pertaining to the Vaishnava philosophy. His pen never tired and it produced many other Vaishnava philosophical works. He would begin his writings very late at night after completing his government work and stay up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning composing songs and literatures. Most of his works appeared in the Sajjana Toshini magazine. He was equally engaged in writing and in preaching the holy name in many districts of Bengal. His personal appearances at villages had marvelous effects on the people. To maintain the center at Nadia, he built a house at Sri Godruma Dvipa, which is called Sri Swananda Sukada Kunja. Here in this abode, the preaching of Sri Harinama continued in full swing. It was at the beginning of the 12th century that he chose to live at Puri and built a house on the bench front there. Many honest souls sought his blessings and readily obtained them when he accepted the renounced order of life by taking Babaji initiation from Srila Gaurakishora Dasa Babaji in 1908. Thus he was leading the life of a renounced soul. He could not avoid the men of all description who constantly visited him. All of them received essential spiritual training, instructions and blessings. In 1910, he shut himself up and remained in a perfect state of samadhi or full concentration on the eternal pastimes of the Lord. In 1914, he passed on the blissful realm of Goloka on the day which is observed as the disappearance day of Sri Gadadhara. Here we quote stanza written about the samadhi of Haridas Thakura, which Srila Bhaktivinoda wrote sometime in 1871 to explain what influence Vaishnava carries in this world even after his departure. He reasons hell who tells that Vaishnavas die. When thou art living still in sound, the Vaishnavas die to live and living try to spread the holy name around. Srila Bhaktivinoda predicted, soon there will appear a personality who will preach the holy name of Lord Hari all over the world. It is clearly understood that His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is that personality. I offer my prostrated obeisances first unto all devotees I understand. Jai Srila Prabhupada.